90% of the ventilators they promised have been delivered. That's a failure, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the Canadian Medical Association raised the alarm that healthcare workers were going to run short of gowns, masks, gloves, and other PPE. The author of the SARS Commission report said this government got it wrong in the first wave. We know the government's been late on rapid tests. We know they've been slow and late on ventilators. Mr. Speaker, is this government going to come once again short for our nurses, our doctors, our PSWs as they prepare to help us in the second wave?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our nurses, our doctors, our personal support workers are not just preparing to help us, they are helping us. They are fighting the second wave right now. And that is why I am so grateful to all the Canadians who have thrown themselves into the manufacture of ventilators, who have thrown themselves into procuring ventilators. And the reality is we can be confident going into the second wave that we have the ventilators we need. When it comes to other forms of PPE, the reality is we have been so busy purchasing it that additional warehouse space has had to be found to.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks ago, the government laid out an agenda that failed to mention energy workers even once. Last night, workers were informed that Come By Chance refinery in Newfoundland and Labrador could be closing permanently. 500 families in communities in eastern Newfoundland and Labrador whose livelihoods are hanging by a thread because this government doesn't value their jobs. Mr. Speaker, why is this government abandoning the families of Newfoundland and Labrador?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me just say that I take the jobs of energy workers across the country very personally and very seriously. And that is why just 2 weeks ago, our government provided $320 million directly to the government of Newfoundland and Labrador in order to support their work in supporting energy workers. That, Mr. Speaker, is not rhetoric. That is action to support the energy workers of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Come By Chance is just the latest in a long line of Liberal failures when it comes to energy workers. On Friday, we learned that 2,000 Suncor workers were going to lose their jobs. Mr. Speaker, in 1 week, almost 2,500 paychecks from Alberta to Newfoundland and Labrador could disappear in the energy sector. That's 2,500 workers who will have to look for work in a pandemic. That's 2,500 working families that are wondering how they're going to pay for groceries. Mr. Speaker, when is this government going to have a real plan for energy workers and their families?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Our government absolutely understands the importance of the energy sector in providing high-paying jobs across the country and in being truly an engine of our economy. But let me disabuse the members opposite of the notion that somehow our government doesn't care for Alberta and Albertans in this crisis. During this pandemic, over 1 million Albertans have received the CERB. Out of a population of 4.3 million, that is nearly 1/4 of Albertans. Over 102,000 Alberta businesses have received the CEBA, and the wage subsidy has supported 5.6.
L'Honorable Député.